Welcome back and good morning. Hey, and speaking of welcome back, I got my partner back, Matt, who's fresh off a week in Stone Harbor.
Yeah. I'm going to bring back the hardware. The body surfing champion rode it all the way to
Yeah.
Hoy's, which is the five and dime there at Stone Harbor.
So Matt loves his body surfing. Matt loves Stone Harbor. And I love when Matt comes back and he's with me. And I love when we're with you. So thank you all for being with us. And as we tackle another topic this week, Matt and I were talking about the impact of past, the impact of our experiences on what we do today. And we've all heard the analogies of, the past is in the past, the future is in tomorrow, tomorrow's in the future. Today is the present. That's why we call it a gift. And, we can only focus on today and I love the analogy. One of the things we get to do, Matt and I get to do, is spend a lot of time with business owners and CEOs who I find to be just incredibly dynamic people. And oftentimes they have ADD like me, which I can appreciate. And one who I was speaking with recently shared an analogy with me. And he said, yeah, that's why the rear view mirror is so much smaller than the windshield. I said, oh, that makes sense, right? Because we have the rear view mirror that shows us our past, that shows us what's behind us. How big is it, right? It's about this big. And then the windshield's massive because that's where we're going. And I love that analogy, and I love how it plays into not just our life, but, our professional lives and how many of our behaviors, our future behaviors are impacted by our past experiences.
Yeah, and I did a little further digging, and I found out that it's roughly 80-20. It's 80%, or the windshield's 80%, and then 20% in the size. Wait, right?
Sure,
something like that. But
sure, and we're probably looking through the windshield 80% of the time in the rear view mirror.
It came to 80-20, and I thought that was really interesting. And for me, it's sort of the right ratio. If I take a look at decision making and I take a look at opportunity, are we spending 20% of our week reflecting? Or that might even be a little bit high, but 10%. And I think that reflection, and I beat that drum a lot, but how many of us actually do it? We're all busy. There's a lot of people that have the busy button. We talk about intentionality, and hopefully we're going down that path to be more intentional. But I think the number one thing that we miss in that pursuit of intentionality it is reflection. It's truly taking 5 minutes here, 10 minutes there. By the way, it needs to be scheduled or it's not going to happen.
And the way we like to schedule that, and the way we think that the best way to build that intentionality of reflection into the week is through one-to-ones. And we think that one of the greatest things sales leaders can do is when you're having a one-to-one with your team, it's what did we learn? We start with activity, right? In our scheduled one-to-ones and our prescribed one-to-ones, we love when sales leaders meet with their team and say, how'd we do? Look at the activity of the past week, right? Spend a little time on, did we hit our numbers? Did we do the activities we needed to do? What did we learn? We actually have a piece, I think, of an effective one-to-one that we schedule into our ones-to-ones. That is that. What lessons learned did we have? What did we learn this past week? So that we can use that as we go forward to set our goals and our activity goals and our achievement goals.
Yeah, and you bring up probably my second middle name, maybe Scorecards, with that, and the one thing questions on the scorecard, the what did we learn? Candidly, those are usually the ones that aren't filled out.
That's right.
Or are a one-word answer. We can get the metrics up top. Metrics are important. That's the scoreboard. That's how we judge success. But some of the questions down at the bottom of our score of the one thing. What's the one thing that you learn? I was having this conversation yesterday. Most industries, there's only a few themes. You're only going to find a few type of prospects. Right. They're only going to have a few types of problems, and there's going to be a few types of solutions. There might be some outliers, but 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. And so we're selling ourselves short if we're not sitting down, taking time, intentionally reflecting of not just at ABC, but what did we learn? What can we extract? What information can we go seek for when ABC is then XYZ in 3 months, 6 months, 12 months? Or are we just simply doing the same thing over and over, just being drilled in to the specific logo?
Yeah, and it's an interesting point I never thought of, because if you have a situation, if you have an industry where there are, 5 different scenarios you run into the majority of the time.
Yeah.
If we can learn consistently and make sure that we're taking those learning experiences away with us from what happened last week and putting it into this week, the next week, it's that role play, right? It's that muscle memory that we're building that helps us become better. So the experiences we have, and by the way, it's not just in sales situations. As a parent, how many times do we face the same situation over and over and over and over again? In our relationship, Susie and I, if you look back over 20 years, we've had like 4 arguments. Somehow I find a way to keep bringing them up more and more and more, right? Because I usually start those, I think.
Who won them? No. Okay. Next week's episode.
Yeah, there's never a winner, Matt. When
Okay. I forgot. I'm only
marriage is 100-100. We're not looking for wins.
I'm 4 years in.
Yeah,
so
that's right.
Give me a break. Still learning.
Amateur. But, we have 4 arguments over 20 years. What have I learned from the past that helps me apply to how to avoid those? In my case, probably not much. But why do we keep repeating those mistakes of the past and not learn from them? That's the positive side, right? The positive side of looking in the rearview mirror. The positive side of our experiences. How do we take those experiences and apply them for better behavior moving forward? How do we learn from those to get better as we go forward? That's number 1. Number 2 is the negative. How much does the negative of the past diminish our hope for the future? Right? How much does the negative experiences we have in the past diminish our belief and our ceiling of what we see as possible for the future?
So I think while you're saying that, great points. I was thinking through it. I think the rear view mirror is 80% smaller than the windshield. Just to clarify that for everyone, because I was throwing all kind of stats out there. But I think that's a great point with the positive. We're both people that hate to lose. So we go negative. We think about what we could do better. We think about the deals, although not many for him, that we might lose, and we stay there. But one thing we learn can be positive. And how do we replicate that? How do we maintain that? If it was a little bit of luck in there, how do we make sure that just becomes part of us ongoing? And when you talk about the negative, a few weeks ago we were talking about some of that head trash, like that summertime, right? Oh, it's summertime. You know what? I'm not going to be getting in front of anybody, and
everybody's home. Everybody's at the beach.
It comes after summer, soon after pumpkin picking.
That's right.
Right?
Who's working?
Yeah.
Right.
and so part of that is, how do we use those past experiences? How do we break some of those past experiences, and how do we drown out some of those past experiences? Ron, our partner Ron, does a great job finding talent. And it seems like we've had a swarm of individuals, salespeople and other roles that we then get to coach, which is pretty cool. Start. And many of those organizations, they're trying to break old habits. They're trying to break some of that head trash of bringing fresh, new. And a few that we hired are like, is that the way I should be doing it? Or, I'm a little bit confused because I don't know. Summer just means it's warm, not necessarily shutting it down. So
because they might not come into it with that head trash or that bad experience.
Or they don't have the rear view mirror.
That's right. So they see possibilities, not obstacles. They see possibilities rather than constraints. And when we focus on the rear view mirror, we're either going to find lessons learned, things that can make us better, or we're going to find constraints that hold us back. Right? And where do you focus on? Do you focus on the constraint, focusing on the rear view mirror and letting that limit your future hope, what you see through the windshield? Or do you see that experience in the past as a learning opportunity, a lesson learned, something we can apply to get better, something we can apply to have greater future outcomes, something we can apply to have greater joy, greater success, greater fulfillment? Or are we focused on the constraint?
And if you don't mind, I'd like to have the challenge this week because I think it boils down to reflection. And none of this can happen None of this is possible if we don't slow down and reflect. So the challenge from us would be looking at the rest of this week, don't even look into next week, but what's the one time you're going to schedule in your day today to reflect? Tomorrow, next day, all the way through the weekend. Because I'm a big believer. It has to happen today.
Make it personal and professional.
Okay, go ahead.
Okay, you do.
Make it personal and professional.
Yes, personal and professional reflection in that day, because we're full people, right? It's just not what we do 9 to 5. We're complete people. And what we do 5 to 9 so often impacts who we are from 9 to 5.
Yeah, personal is extra credit.
All right. So next week, your extra credit will be, did you find that challenge? Did you find that experience? Did you find that lesson learned in your personal life that helps you become helps you become a better version of yourself, that helps you find greater joy, greater fulfillment, greater peace? And in your professional life, did you find that learning experience, that lesson learned, that's going to help you be a better professional, that's going to help you go about the day with more hope and optimism of what can be versus the constraints of what was? We think you can do it. We believe in you guys. We believe in all the great potential that you have and all the great hope and joy and fulfillment that lies ahead. So go have a great week. Thank you so much for being with us and the gift of time that you give us. And we hope you're well. Take care. God bless.